Right now, we're fired up to talk to Frank Schwab from Yahoo Sports. Frank, what's up, dude? Thanks for making some time for us.
Hey, what's going on?
Doing well, man.
Dude, you I think DC fans were pretty excited by your column Tuesday morning. Talking about the Jayden Daniels, Joe Burrow matchup. What did you make of Jayden in Cincinnati?
I mean, this is so lazy and obvious, and I hate to even do it, but I don't think anybody there is going to mind. It took me back to 2012 and RG3 on Monday night, right? That great game he had, the run down the sideline, where you just kind of said to yourself, I'm watching something special here. I'm watching something happen in front of my eyes. The difference with that is I believe that game was in December, right? Like it was later in the season anyway.
The Vikings game you're talking about?
Yeah, the one where the 76-yard touchdown on the left sideline, and that kind of started the, like, wow, RG3 is a superstar. I mean, unfortunately, the story ended differently, but we're keeping it positive here. I just felt that way Monday night where I was like, we are watching something happen. But this was in week 3. Mm-hmm. This is Jayden Daniels' 3rd NFL game. And you just felt like this, we're really watching a star all of a sudden. And who knows, like, look, the Bengals are really beat up and they got a bad defense. And it doesn't mean that Jayden Daniels is going to complete 91% of his passes even ever again. But it just felt like he's something special. And that's been the vibe out of there, as you guys know better than me. The whole off season is just how hard he was working and how impressed his teammates were and the coaches were. And obviously you could turn on the LSU film from last year and see he's a baller, but just to see that happen on an NFL stage, and then the pass to McLaurin at the end was just ridiculous. There's quarterbacks who played 10 years in the NFL who wouldn't make that play. I mean, the anticipation he showed, the toughness to stay in the pocket. How could you just not be super excited about Jayden Daniels? We were just doing our Inside Coverage podcast on for Yahoo Sports. It's going to drop later today. And I said, like, I can envision this season turning out to Jayden Daniels being the story of the entire season, kind of like RG3 was many years ago, or other rookie, CJ Stroud last year. He's already here. He's arrived as a really, really good player to the point where I can't wait to watch him in week 4.
Did the timing, like you said, it was the 3rd game of the season. Was that the thing that really threw you off, that a young guy is doing it something that good this quick?
He was so great at LSU. I did expect him to be very good this season, but with some ups and downs. And look, there's going to be rough patches. He's not just going to be like CJ Stroud was really, really uncommon, right? Like, but I mean, for him to be this poised in his 3rd game was really a shocker to me. That he just seems like nothing phases him. And one thing I'll tell you guys is that surprised me was, we had talked all off season about, he's got to slide. He can't take these hits. The dude's toughness. I didn't realize how tough he was, because over and over on Monday night, you watch plays where it's like, hey, it's 3rd and 4. We need a first down. And he just does what he's got to do to get it, and he gets hit and he bounces right back up. That play against to McLaurin, he stands in the pocket knowing he's going to get blasted, and he does, and he delivers the pass. I didn't know how tough he was. And I think that even for a guy who's, 210, 215 pounds, whatever he is, he's not the biggest quarterback in the league. He can take a hit. I don't know if he can necessarily survive all season taking these hits like this, but I did not know about his toughness. So there's just been so many parts of his game that are so advanced, again, for just being 3 games in, that it has surprised me a little bit how fast this has come along for him.
I agree. And one point I've tried to make repeatedly, I understand that the runs are alarming, right? But most quarterbacks get hurt in the pocket or trying to scramble. It's not always these design runs or the disaster that everybody proclaims them to be. And I think the biggest hit he took the other night was on the touchdown throw.
Yeah.
And you don't want to walk that back at all, because that's how they won the game.
Absolutely not. And I mean, I've always, people compare him size-wise to Lamar Jackson. And when you really think about Lamar Jackson, the injuries he's had, as you said, have kind of been in the pocket, a weird kind of injuries. Go back and watch Lamar Jackson has rushed the ball however many times in his career. It's been a ton. Try to think of any time you've really seen Lamar Jackson get just blasted on a run. He doesn't. He has a really good way of just kind of almost like the cross sport you hear Gretzky back in the day, of never really taken a direct hit. He always seems to kind of get away right at the right moment or turn, so he's not taking the brunt of the hit. And I almost see a lot of that in Daniels too, where on his runs, he's getting hit, but he's not just getting laid out every single time. Yes, you are right. You definitely don't look. Anthony Richardson is a great example of the Colts have talked all off season about being safe with him and slide and this and that. What are you seeing with Anthony Richardson? He looks like a really tentative quarterback when it comes to running. You don't want that to happen to Jayden Daniels because the entire package is what makes him really, really good. And I mean, it's hard to put it all together. Lamar's done it as a passer and a runner. Cam Newton as a passer and a runner, and it looks like Jayden Daniels is a guy who's a pass-first quarterback who just happens to be one of the best runners on the field in any game he's going to be in.
Like the thing I say, for me, and I agree with you, I say when you're running the ball, you get a chance to set the guy up, and if you watch him, he just turns his body a certain way, doesn't take the full contact. When you're in the pocket, they hit you, and you don't know how they're gonna hit you.
Yeah, you see car wrecks happen back there. You know that, and it is, and you just I hope that he doesn't get hurt. I hope he can protect himself on these runs because we need this guy in the NFL because he's just so exciting right now. Like I said, I could see him being the story of this entire season. We all love new things, new superstars, and we've seen the other rookie quarterbacks struggle. I mean, they've had a couple of, Caleb's had some moments. Bo Nix had a good game last week. Jayden's the one who's like, he could take this league by storm and maybe even, if it wasn't for Malik Neighbors, maybe run away with the Offensive Rookie of the Year trophy.
Yeah, and dude, it's a little early to call that race either. I think more performances like that, and we'll see. It's only week 3. Talking with Frank Schwab from Yahoo Sports right now. You should give him a follow at Yahoo Schwab, SCHWAB. What do you think specifically of Cliff Kingsbury's offense through 3 weeks?
I was kind of down on it early on because, and now you look at the entirety of 3 games. And we're sitting here and it's hard not to get excited, right? And I'm already talking about trophies and stuff, but it's hard not to get excited with this guy. Where we overact everything. First couple weeks to Cliff, I was like, why is he keeping the Ferrari in the garage? I mean, all Jayden Daniels was doing was throwing screen passes and 2 yards downfield, and it really felt like, just, is this it? This is the offense we're going to get. And he's completing a ton of these passes, but who cares? There weren't any air yards behind him or anything like that. He changed a little bit in the second half against the Giants. And I think Cliff got a little more confident too. Okay, he's ready to do more. We're ready to put more on his plate. Where I thought Monday night against the Bengals was a pretty normal offense. I haven't really gone back and studied, air yards or average or anything like that. But just watching it, it didn't seem like he held his back. It seemed like, hey, he's ready to take the next step. And now you look back at the first 3 games and you say, he was probably right for those first couple of games. Don't just throw him out into the line and the Bears have done Caleb Williams. Bring him along, step by step. We're going to do this the right way. So, I'm not the biggest Kingsbury fan in the world, but I think he has handled this the right way. And now you saw in that third game a lot of creativity, a lot of trust in his rookie quarterback that he can make plays, throwing the ball downfield, that he's not going to put you in bad positions. And you've got to kind of put your cap and say that they've really put the rest of the staff has done really well with Jayden Daniels to set him up for success through his first 3 games.
We've seen a lot of similarities. He's been talking about a lot of similarities from the rivalry between Lamar. Now, what do you see that's different that may make it better?
Lamar?
Yeah.
I think he's more accurate than Lamar. Lamar is so good. I mean, people. I hope haven't put on the fact that Lamar Jackson already punched the Hall of Fame. Every single quarterback is MVP Hall of Fame. He's going to go too. And there's not many things. Lamar is just such a dynamic runner. There's how many things he does that poorly. I can see Jayden being more of a volume guy, a guy who, look, they don't necessarily, you saw it the other day against the Cowboys, they don't necessarily love Lamar Jackson throwing 30, 35 times a game. That's really just never been the formula they've had for winning, and they've won a ton of games with him. You could see Jayden Daniels being the kind of volume passer that gets up to 30, 35 passes, because I think he's a better pure pocket passer than Lamar Jackson. That's saying a lot, because I'm not one of these guys that dogs Lamar Jackson for me a passer. He's an excellent, excellent passer who just happens to be the greatest running quarterback I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. But you could see, I just think Jayden is going to end up being, and might already in some ways be, just the more pure pocket passer than the two, and both have just amazing running ability and amazing just knowledge on when to run and keep your eyes upfield. They're not just looking to tuck it and run every time, like Justin Fields comes to mind as a guy who just looks to run almost every down. They're selective with it. They're smart with it. So I think there's a lot of similarities between the two, and that's high praise for Jayden Daniels because, like I said, Lamar's going to the Hall of Fame someday, and I'm not putting Jayden Daniels in the Hall of Fame yet, but you could see a lot of similarities in their game.
All right. Talking with Frank Schwab here from Yahoo Sports on the BetQL guest line. Give Frank a follow at Yahoo Schwab. It's funny you mentioned Lamar there. I think Jayden is already a better pocket passer, and I think that the lack of pocket passing kind of has been a issue for the Ravens when they get into the playoffs. A pair of teams that are 1-2, the Baltimore Ravens and the San Francisco 49ers. Who is in more trouble?
That's an interesting question. I don't think either one, to be honest. I think both are really good. I guess if I had to pick one, maybe the Ravens, just because I just had this thought that the 49ers still might secretly be the best team of football. They're just dealing with a ton of injuries. When you take Kittle, Debo, and Christian McCaffrey out of your offense, and your quarterback still throws for, I think, 297 yards or whatever Purdy threw for the other day, it's just, you're not going to function at the same level you should be functioning. I go back to that Jets game. I think a lot of the Jets. I think Jets are going to be a really good football team. And the 49ers just blew them off the field on that Monday night. So I think the 49ers are fine. They're just dealing with a ton of injuries right now. Dealing with close loss last week to the Rams. It probably shouldn't have happened. And I think they're going to be fine. If there's with the Ravens, maybe their offensive line issues come back to bite them. I don't know where Mark Andrews is as a player anymore, coming off that leg injury and really being kind of a ghost in their offense so far. There's a few more questions I have with the Ravens, whereas I think the 49ers, once they get healthy, they're going to be totally fine. It's just you don't want to dig yourself too big of a hole early in the season before that happens.
I tend to agree with you. Are there any what do you think of the Bengals then, sitting at 0-3?
Yeah, and you're or the Cowboys. We can talk about them. The Bengals are the team where, and I said this. Look, I get a lot wrong. When you write about football, you talk about football a lot.
Sure.
You have opinions. You're going to get a lot wrong. One thing I think I did get right was in this offseason, I kept saying, and you can read my preview on the Bengals, that it wasn't just Joe Burrow got hurt, and that's the only reason the Bengals didn't make the playoffs last year. There were a lot of concerning things, including a defense that just gave up explosive plays like it was its job. Like it was a bad defense last year, and it's been even worse this year. It wasn't as easy as Burrow's back and we're going to be Super Bowl contenders again. This was a flawed Bengals team last season. We forget Jake Browning really didn't play that bad down the stretch. It wasn't just quarterback. It wasn't the Jets. It wasn't that the quarterback was so bad they couldn't compete. There was a lot of other things going wrong with the Bengals last year, and I think you're seeing it. I don't know what has happened to Lou Anarumo's defense, but people have figured it out. A lot of injuries, I get that. I think the Bengals are in a ton of trouble because if you've already blown games against the Patriots and the Commanders at home, no offense to the Commanders, but that's a game you look at the schedule and you say, that's a win. We got to win that one. Well, they've already dropped 2 of those types of games, and the schedule's only going to get tougher. So I think the Bengals are in a ton of trouble. And the Cowboys, I don't know what to make of them anymore. Week 1, they look great against the Browns, but maybe that said more about the Browns than the Cowboys because they have looked absolutely awful since then.
Yeah, I hung around Cincinnati after the game, and a lot of the fans actually thought that it was the Commanders that were going to just walk over them.
You should, yeah. And honestly, we're just being honest. We're just being honest among us because nobody's listening, and no Commanders fans out there are going to get mad at me. But yes, when the schedule comes out, you say, "Oh, we're playing the Commanders on September 23rd." That's a win. You do, like everybody does that. We know, but man, they got caught sleeping because they didn't expect that Jayden Daniels hurricane to hit town. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah,
man, he was something else, dude. Just specific to Washington, we're talking about some of these other teams and what their playoff chances may or may not be. And Dallas just, to me, lacks physicality at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. The Bengals are in trouble. I think this guy that was on the flight with me yesterday just wouldn't stop talking. So they're 0-3. They got 14 games left. They basically have to go not at least 9-5 if they're getting in.
Yeah,
like 9
probably
wins typically
10-4,
gets you in. Yeah. What about Washington's playoff chances? Like you kind of don't want to discuss it because it seems so premature. But hell, they're 2-1. I mean, there's 7 teams get in. There's 3 wild card teams. The NFC East, or the NFC rather, does have a ton of 2-1 or 3-0 teams. But what do you think of Washington with the defensive struggles that have become pretty damn apparent?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we sit here and talk about Jayden. It could be a completely different conversation had they lost that game and have been 1-2, because the defense has looked pretty bad, and I don't think the offensive line is suddenly good. Like, I think that's going to come back and bite them at some point. And, I mean, now that Eckler, he's dealing with a concussion, you look and you say, is the running game deep enough to kind of support Jayden and all this? So this is a flawed Commanders team. But, if you look at the teams that have kind of gone from worst to first, not that I'm saying they're going to win the NFC East, but in recent years, it's almost always been with a quarterback drafted first or second who just has this really, really good rookie year, going to get listed franchise. And maybe we're seeing that. I don't think the Commanders are going to make the playoffs. I think there's too many flaws here, and it's too tough in the NFC. If you don't win your division, then all of a sudden you're competing with all these really, really good teams for a wild card spot, like the Cowboys, if they bounce back, and the Packers, and even if the Rams bounce back, or Seahawks. The Seahawks are off to a 3-0 start. Teams like that, it's just hard. It is hard to do the math to make the playoffs in the NFL if you don't win your division. But why can't the Commanders stay in the race? Like, this quarterback might transform everything for them. And then Dan Quinn gets the defense a little bit better as the season goes on. And the offensive line doesn't play that poorly. I was high on the Commanders coming into the season. You can go back. There's receipts. I said, I think this Commanders team could be in playoff contention. And I sure haven't backed off of that based on the way they've looked. You're 2-1. You're competing hard. You're excited about your quarterback, and you got a good coaching staff all of a sudden. I think that they can be, again, hanging around the playoff picture. I don't know if they'll make it or not. But I think by the end of the year, regardless of where they end up, I think you'll be really, really excited about the direction of the Commanders going forward.
I think this season doesn't have to result in a playoff to be really excited about the season.
Right.
I think if Jayden, if he can continue on the trajectory he's on, then everything's cool. What do you think of the Eagles, Frank? Last one from me.
I'm kind of unimpressed. Maybe I should be more impressed. They're 2-1. They've beaten two good teams, not at home. But I don't know. I'm just kind of lukewarm on them. I don't think Jalen Hurts is playing that well. And part of that's A.J. Brown being out. I get it. But the other teams got injuries too. The defense giving up a lot of big plays, although they fixed that a little bit last week. I don't know. I think they're fine. I just don't know that this is a Super Bowl winning type of team. Maybe they will become that. Saquon Barkley is obviously a huge addition for them, and he's been really, really good. But I kind of need to see Jalen play better. He finished last season on a downturn. I like Jalen. It hurts a lot. He was great 2 years ago and almost won MVP. But now he comes into this year, and it's kind of the same, whatever. He needs to play better if this Eagles team's going to be a Super Bowl contender. I'm not there with them yet. I think they're good. I think they're going to win this division because, again, the Commanders are still flawed, and the Cowboys just, I don't know where the heck they're going. So I think the Eagles win the division. But as far as, like, looking at the Eagles as, like, yes, this team can win a Super Bowl, I'm not there with them yet. And a lot of that is just Jalen Hurts is not playing to the level he did 2 years ago.
He's turning it over way more, throwing more picks. And when they were really good a couple of years ago, he didn't do that at all. Frank, dude, we appreciate it. I know you're big in the betting space. You got a winner for us this weekend?
I wish. I haven't really. I have not looked that closely this weekend yet, so I will. But take the Chiefs, I guess, because the Chargers are going to go into this game. I don't think I've seen this before. But if all the guys who are really, really banged up sit out, they're going to be without their top 5 players going into a game against the Chiefs. I've never seen that before. A team where you could say all of your top 5 guys are out because Derwin's suspended and Bosa's hurt and their tackles are hurt and Justin Herbert's dealing with a high ankle sprain. So I guess the Chiefs. I'll give you the Chiefs. That's the one play I've made for this week.
All right.
We do a weekend parlay every week, and I'm pretty sure BMitch just takes the Chiefs every week, and he's 3-0. So he might be on to something.
I mean, why go against what's working, right?
Thanks, Frank. Appreciate your time, bro.
Appreciate you guys.
All right, man.